everybody, and welcome to I Can't Believe It's Not News, your favorite podcast about fake news. I'm Beth.
And I'm Kelly.
Hey, Kelly. How are you doing tonight?
I am very tired. How about you, Beth?
I think that was the theme last time. You were very tired.
Yes. Yeah. I think it's just the theme of motherhood.
That and it's allergy season in Portland.
It is allergy season. Yeah. And today I am just particularly tired because I had a weird start to my morning. But I think that with a good night's sleep, I will not feel so tired tomorrow.
Okay. That's probably a really good plan. Yeah. Nice. Well, oh my gosh. I heard the craziest news today.
What was it?
Did you hear that George Soros died?
What? I don't think that's true, Beth. Did you check any more?
Not George Soros. It was Eddie Murphy.
Oh, wait. Really? I would have thought that I would have gotten an alert on my phone or something.
Oh, no. Justin Bieber. He died today.
Beth,
right?
Are you sure about all this?
I'm sure that lots of people would have clicked on that article.
Oh, I bet you're right. I bet if it came up on my phone, even I would click it, even if I didn't really have an interest in that celebrity.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a big clickbait thing, isn't it?
It is. Like celebrity death hoaxes. Like, people love that stuff.
Yeah. It's totally true. And the rumors just spread as soon as they start. They're like wildfire.
Totally. Wildfire and murder rumors. That should be a drink.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. Hi, can I get a wildfire and a murder rumor?
You can.
Some mozzarella sticks?
Maybe next weekend, because Game of Thrones comes back.
What?
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah, it's April.
To be honest, I've been like not looking at the dates because I just didn't like, I wanted that moment where you were going to tell me and I was going to be like, what?
Yay! Now you can be excited. Yeah, it comes back very soon.
Very soon.
Maybe there will be more wildfire. Who knows? There's definitely going to be some murder rumors, though.
There's definitely going to be.
Do you want to talk about some other kind of fake death hoax rumors?
Yeah, let's do it. This sounds juicy.
This sounds like so much fun. So do you want me to, I was going to explain a little bit about how I came up with this idea when we were talking about doing a story or doing a topic for this week. I mentioned that I was reading a book, which is going to be my jam of the week. Spoilers.
Well, spoiler.
But it's a book by Gabourey Sidibe, and she talks about how having a death hoax rumor out there about her has affected her and her family, and how no matter what day it is, if she hasn't tweeted immediately after someone has read it, then they automatically just assume that she's dead, believe the rumor, and then they call her upset, even after possibly she's explained to them already, this is out there. I'm okay. I'm not dead.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. Okay, so first of all, let's back up a second because she is an actress, correct?
Yes, Gabourey Sidibe. Yeah, she played Precious in the movie Precious. She was also in The Big C. She was in American Horror Story. She was in Difficult People.
So she's done quite a bit. So even if you don't know her name, you probably are starting to go, oh, okay, I know who that is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she's kind of a bigger person, right? Mm-hmm. And so there's kind of a little twist there too to that like death rumor is that there's definitely a thought out there that like if you are a bigger person, like you are more likely to die young.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
sure.
So like I could see how, especially with somebody who is overweight, like to have those death rumors swirling around, like your family might tend to believe it a little bit quicker or be like, oh my gosh, I was so scared something was going to happen to you. Because, as we get into this, we're going to see that a lot of people who have these hoaxes told about them, like Michael J. Fox is another one. He has a very serious disease.
Right.
He will, everybody passes away at some point, right? But like, it's even a little, it's more nefarious when it's about somebody like that who does have a very serious disease.
Yeah. And I mean, it's also if you're the slightest bit elderly,
Yeah.
you're getting hit
Yep.
with it. I mean, anything over the age of 50 and you're just, or maybe if you have a known drug problem of any
Right.
kind, that could be there as well. You know, if
Yeah.
you've had a history of depression. I mean, people have always loved to gossip, and gossiping about celebrities is even juicier.
Right.
So, yeah, because you know what? There's no repercussions. It's not like you're gossiping about your best friend to someone else and someone else
Right.
tells your best friend what you said. You're likely not within 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon. So it's less likely that your rumor is going to get back to him.
Wait, hold on.
I mean, you might be.
The other day I ate bacon. And so
they might be related.
Sure. Okay, I will say this though, and this is kind of a thing with celebrities that sometimes I've noticed, and I will say I've noticed this with conservatives, which maybe is or isn't surprising, but there's kind of this notion out there that celebrities are there for your entertainment, and right. They are not supposed to have thoughts or feelings or emotions. And, I've seen comments like when a celebrity has come out and said something political where people will say like, that's not your job, dance monkey dance, which really bothers me.
That's really gross because there's never been a time in history where musicians haven't been political or or entertainers haven't taken part in some form of politics. That has always been the case.
I kind of wish people would step back and realize that everybody has opinions. Right. Everybody has the right to have opinions. Everybody has thoughts. Everybody has emotions and feelings. And to, associate somebody only with their job, to say that, if you're an actor or if you're famous, that you don't have the right to have those things I'm not comfortable with that. And I understand that when you are a celebrity, you're out in the public's eye.
Right.
And people are going to judge you, but that doesn't take away the fact that you are a human being who deserves to have feelings, thoughts, and emotions.
Right.
And when you look at some of what we're going to look at, it kind of ties into, it's sad because obviously, if there was an announcement that, I died, nobody would click on that except for my family, right? Like,
yeah,
that's not going to generate the clicks.
Right.
So this isn't a problem for the everyday American. This is only a problem for celebrities because they're the ones that garner the clicks and the likes when it's announced, not factually, that they've died.
Right. And by celebrities, we do mean it could be any type of celebrity. So it doesn't have to be entertainment. It could be politicians, anyone who has enough power to generate an article that will get clicks is subject to having a celebrity death hoax about them. Just because we're saying celebrity doesn't necessarily mean we're only talking about entertainers.
True. That's a good point. So let's get into this, Kelly. So, and we kind of talked about this a little bit already, but why does that matter? So do you want to talk about Celine Dion, what she said?
Yeah. So Beth and I found an article that's from therap.com, and it's very clickbaity as well, I will say, but it is very informative, and it does cite sources. So, but it feels clickbaity. It's not really, because there's not a bunch of ads, but it is called Celebrity Death Hoaxes, 45 famous people who were reported dead, but weren't. And it has all kinds of people on it, obviously, because it's got 45 of them, which is a great resource if you're doing this type of topic.
Yeah. I mean, I was like, thank you.
Yeah.
And it had some that I hadn't ever heard of, like Will Ferrell.
Yeah, I did that. I hadn't heard that one either.
And it's like so specific too. There was a fake press release that in March of 2006 that he was killed in a paragliding accident in Southern California when a wind gust caused him to lose control and crash into trees. Like,
yeah,
what? Like, it's not just like a headline like Will Ferrell dies. It's literally like somebody took the time to make up an entire story about how he died.
Right. And it's a crazy, ridiculous story.
Yeah.
It's not quite enough to feel like a parody, but it's also doesn't feel like a real death either.
This person died ever a parody. Like, that's not funny. So if that's
right,
you know, and I'm not mad at you. I'm just saying if somebody's like parodying that, then they're not doing it right.
Right. But I'm just saying, like, if it was Will Ferrell died today when he flew his paraglider into a volcano, like that to me would be an article that I'd be like, oh, okay, this probably is not true. I could probably check one source and find out that this isn't true, or just ignore it completely. But the specificness of that one and the way that it's just like, I guess maybe that could happen, makes it that much more where it's just like, did you need to get into all kinds of details?
Right.
Like, did he break both legs? Just one leg?
Exactly. That's why I was like, what?
Yeah.
But so Celine Dion, she's had some apparently never-ending rumors of her death on social media.
Yeah. So she said that she really hates it because her mother is getting older. And she said that's what really worries her. It makes me a little mad. She's 86 years old. And if I'm not on the phone telling her I'm okay 4 seconds after the news, it doesn't matter what they say. It's the impact it has on your family.
And that's a really good point.
Yeah, it really is, because, I mean, that was back in 2013. So this is 6 years ago.
Right.
It is still the impact that it has on your family and the world around you. And, you know, it can't be easy if, say, you are someone who has a problem with drug addiction.
Right.
And you're trying to get back from that, but all you see are rumors about how you died of a drug overdose.
Right.
And it feels like, you know, why am I bother struggling if everyone's just going to believe I'm an addict always for the rest of my life anyway?
I mean, if you think about it, whenever you see a story of like this person died, like your heart drops a little bit, or you're like, oh no. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Your family? Like, I mean, it's one thing when you're just a fan who has very little connection to that person other than I watched the show that you were in and liked it and, you know, always thought you had great eyebrows, you know, and a lot of times you see these stories and you're like, oh no. And then you find out it's not true and you're like, oh, good, you know, but just as a person who's never met that person, you still feel that like sense of loss and that gut reaction of, oh my gosh. And I can't imagine it being for a family member and then finding out that, oh, it was just a hoax. I mean, you would still, I'm sure so many of their family members just have like just PTSD from it, of like just that horror of like thinking that this person is dead.
Right.
And, you know, nightmares of finding out that they're dead all the time and not being able to go online because they're scared that they're going to find out that, you know, they're dead again. You know, it's just,
I mean, I can imagine having children, and if your children are learning how to read or they're starting to use the internet, like they're just old enough to do those things, but still young enough to be a little bit innocent. And they read stories like that. I mean, even if they know you're alive, it has to impact their mental wellness.
Absolutely.
And that's just not something anyone should really have to deal with just for, you know, I guess what we can get into, which is, why do people do this, Beth? Yeah. Why do they make up these fake rumors?
So, yeah. So for some media outlets, it's like that race to break the news first. So like that's what happened with Barbara Bush when CBS announced it prematurely before she died with a headline that said, "Do not publish."
That's right. I remember that.
And then, so Abe Vigoda, do you remember who he is?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I love Abe Vigoda.
Barney Miller, right? The Barney Miller Show.
Mm-hmm.
So apparently back in the 80s, he was referred to as the late Abe Vigoda because he was continually late for things. Like he was not timely.
That's right.
So what they meant was the not timely Abe Vigoda. But it got reported in the paper, and then it started becoming like reported that he was the late Abe Vigoda, which people started taking as he had passed away. So that was another one that, and he died in 2016 at the age of 94, but that was like a 34-year joke that followed him around.
Yeah. That's got to be really hard. Like the older you get and already you've probably seen your eulogy 10, 15 times.
Right?
That's You're awful. Like, no one should have to go through that.
Would you read it and be like, you know what? That's not even right. They need to update that. So, so beyond that though, so Snopes has a great article about by Brooke Banowski did a really good overview of this, and it's called Death Hoaxes Like Farming and You. And it talks about how, you know, death hoaxes are nothing new. They've been around forever. You might remember the Beatles and the endless rumors that Paul McCartney supposedly died. Yes. There's, you know, this has been going around forever. But she said, why shouldn't you click or share it? Like, what's the harm in it? And one reason is like farming. And so Facebook's algorithms in particular emphasize popular content, and therefore gathering likes and shares receives a high premium. So she said sometimes it's just an annoyance, but often the intent is scammy. So like farmers will gather clicks, which denote popularity, then scrub the original content and replace it with something else, usually a scammy ad of some sort to bypass Facebook constraints. So Facebook has moved to quash this behavior by adjusting their algorithms, but of course, some scammers' efforts always get by the online gatekeepers. And then there's clickbait, which with clickbait, you can get malware. It can, infect your computer, sharing things without your knowledge or consent on social media or worse. So that's probably where, like, you know, people are always being like, hey, if you get a message request from me, don't accept or a friend request from me, don't accept it. I didn't friend you, you know. Right. That's where they've probably clicked on Sylvester Stallone dead at 69. And then, 3 months later, everybody in their address book is getting requests, all that kind of stuff.
That's exactly right. And, we've talked about clickbait before on the podcast. Yes. And, it is something that it does seem like no matter what you try to do to work around it or get around it, it's always that headline. Mm-hmm. I mean, honestly, that's really all they ever have to have are some headlines and some pictures. Right. And they can get people to click on something because they're either going to make you mad or they're going to have just blatantly false content that is just salacious enough to get you to click on something. And they're just getting more and more brazen as time goes on. There is some really awful stuff out there. I mean, it basically comes down to they're feeding on our basic human instinct of being curious and it's something that we like. Like, it's really hard to be like, oh, I'm not going to click on that. I don't want to know what happened. Like, of course you want to know what happened, Right. And we talked about one of the ways to get around that is if you see those sort of salacious headlines, if they seem like they're just too crazy to be true, there's no reason that you can't open up a new tab and Google it. Just Google it. See if anyone reputable is reporting on that thing. Exactly. So yeah, if it's on naturalnews.com that George Soros passed away, make sure it's also on CNN first before you share that. And don't share it from naturalnews.com anyway. Let's just not go there. So talking about having these fake stories about people who are not really dead brought me to look at the topic of, okay, so who's intentionally faked their own death? Ooh, very fun. Yeah, which was so much fun to research because apparently a lot of freaking people do it. And mostly it is criminals who, yep, it's true. Criminals trying not to go to jail or losing all of their money. Wow. And I guess, this falls under that dad trope of, they talk about sometimes in murder documentaries,
Mhm.
or even on My Favorite Murder, they've talked about this before. The dad loses his job and loses all of his money and decides to kill his family because that is the only way to save them.
Right. But yeah,
So
no.
I think, yeah, this is like the other side of this, where they fake their own death,
Right.
or, you know, they're trying to stay out of jail, trying not to lose all of their money, which is pretty uninspiring. I mean, no one really, it's, even though it happens all the time, it's not that you don't get clicks on stories like that, because it's such a, of course you did, you're just a jerk,
Right.
type of story. But I did find one person who faked his own death recently. So one recent example was Arkady Babchenko, and he was a Russian journalist who had been very critical of the Russian government. He was currently living in the Ukraine after having to flee Russia with his family. And in 2018, he faked his own assassination. I don't know if you remember this story, but it was like he was supposed to have been shot in the head.
Oh, wow.
It was supposed to have been a very gruesome thing. And I remember the worldwide press just took over this story. It was widely reported in the international press as part of a sting operation aimed at exposing an agent sent to kill him.
Oh, wow.
Babchenko's appearance at a press conference the day after his supposed death caused an international sensation. And I don't know how many people remember that, but it was I remember it just being the craziest thing. And I think that they found the guy who was sent to kill him, and he may have rolled over on some people, or I honestly don't remember the entire ending of the case, but I remember thinking, oh my God, what did he put his poor family through?
Oh my gosh.
If they thought he was really dead. And I mean, if I remember correctly, like they even like took out his body in a body bag.
Oh, wow.
And it was crazy. It was like a full on Ocean's 11 style plan.
Wow. It
Yeah.
sounds like, though, that by faking his own death, he's helped to avoid his own death.
Right.
So,
right.
yeah.
And I think he did.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And, you know, one of the things I thought about is this is a pretty common theme in a lot of fiction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like you can go back to Romeo and Juliet, or even Gillian Flynn's book Gone Girl, or the movie Gone Girl, which shouldn't be a spoiler because it is like over 5 years old.
Right.
So I think it's okay to say now that she wasn't really dead.
Well, that's super interesting. I wonder though, okay, so let's talk about the other side of that coin. So because we're a fake news podcast, we have to get into the conspiracy theories. What about people who people believe fake their own death but are definitely dead?
Who is your favorite person that is definitely dead but people don't believe it?
Well, there's definitely Elvis, and then there's Jimmy Hoffa. I always heard about Jimmy Hoffa, you know. Mm-hmm. Did they find him recently? Or was that just another story? See, that's something that would be good clickbait for me, is Jimmy Hoffa's body found. I would click on that story.
Probably. Yeah. I don't know. I think I was looking at articles today of people who disappeared, and he was on that article. Yeah. I don't remember if it said that. I don't think his body has been found. I want to say the article would have said.
And I will say with that one, at least it is a mystery where like he disappeared. They never found the body. But with Elvis, yeah, the dude died. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he was careening right towards death there.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty documented. So
yeah, I mean, he definitely did not die in the prime of his youth or anything like that. Which isn't to say that it's, you know, it's always a tragedy when somebody dies, but at the same time, he wasn't like jogging and dropped dead.
Right.
He had lived a pretty full, intensely intense life.
Right. Another musician, Michael Jackson, also. Did you find you found a Facebook page?
Oh yeah, this is apparently a big thing. There is a whole group of people, and they subscribe to something called the Michael Jackson death hoax. And this is a very large conspiracy group that I had no idea existed. They have over 5,500 followers on Facebook. They had a bunch of stuff on Reddit. I didn't go much further than that because they are a scary, scary bunch of people.
Do you think that we could get on there and like convince them that there's a clue that they can pull together if they take 100,000 pounds of plastic out of the ocean? Like, can we turn this into something good?
I mean, like the trash cleanup hashtag.
Like they have to pull 100,000 pounds of plastic out of the ocean in order to put together this clue about his death hoax. And like, I mean, is there any way, or we could be like, you know, it's along this stretch of I-5 that's littered. Go clean it up and look for the clue. Like, can we convince these 5,000 people to do something good with their...
It'd be great. Maybe they could build tiny homes on the weekend.
That would be perfect. Like, I think that, you know, we need to be able to help lead these people that are spending all this time on these conspiracy theories towards actually doing good.
Yeah. By
tricking them.
I mean, I'm down.
I mean,
if you would like to troll some conspiracy theorists, I'm not going to say no.
I mean, I was listening to This American Life earlier today, and they were talking about this. It was actually right up our alley. It's this guy who got really mad about the Russian interference in the 2016 election. And he decided to do that for the Democrats. And he did that on the Doug Jones.
The Democrats here.
Yeah, in the U.S. He's a U.S. citizen. He's a Democrat. And he decided to take the Russian idea and apply it. And so what they did on the Doug Jones campaign, and the campaign wasn't part of this at all. This guy's completely separate. But they started a Facebook group in Alabama for conservative prohibitionists.
Yeah, I can see that.
There's like two Republican parties in Alabama. There's the Prohibition Party. There's literally like this huge group of Baptist dry counties in Alabama. And then there's like the Republicans that are like, nah, yeah, I believe in like fiscal conservative policies, but I'm going to go have a beer, you know? Right. So they said, okay, what we're going to do is try to cause a bigger divide between them, because when they start fighting amongst themselves, that's when they don't vote and they stay home. So they started these two Facebook groups posing as prohibition Republicans to start fights with other Republicans. I mean, it's kind of, I was listening to it, but anyway, so that's what made me think of that, is you could get in there and be like, there's a clue. It's in the ocean. Yeah. We have to find that.
I mean, I'm not even mad about it.
You know?
Let's do it.
Get them to do some charity. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, maybe we could put it under the title of that would be spreading jam.
Right?
I mean, maybe.
All right.
Who knows?
So Elvis and Tupac are both living it up in the Caribbean, of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
Michael Jackson's totally on Facebook.
You know what? Their conspiracy theories are really, really crazy, because I guess he used to wear prosthetics in order to go out.
Right.
And so they have all these ideas that he wore prosthetics and he just got onto a plane. I love that they're like, and LAX had delays that night. He flew in a private airplane.
Right.
He had a private jet. There was no plane waiting on him. If he left on a private jet, and he didn't leave because he had a doctor who was prescribing him, was it propofol?
I think.
What is that called? Propofol. I have not had to take it because it is for people who are very, very sick and very much need to go to sleep, because I think that's the medicine that they give you to, I think it's like an anesthetic.
Yeah, it's like, I think you usually only get it like after surgery or something.
And you know what? Now that I say that out loud, that's even creepier after watching Leaving Neverland. That's even creepier, is that he took an anesthetic. Ugh. Anyways, yeah, those people are nutty boo-boos. And you know what? 5,500 seems manageable in my head now.
I'm just saying.
Please don't let there be more than that.
They could clean up a lot of ocean plastic if we could just motivate them in the right direction.
Great. We promise he would love you forever. He might come out of hiding. He might be under the ocean.
No,
he might live in a bubble under the sea.
What it is, Kelly, is there was a clue printed on some plastic, and it's in the ocean.
Oh.
And they have to get it out to put the clue back together so that they can find him. Because he really wants to be found.
That brings me to some weird death hoaxes.
Oh, all right.
Okay, so one of my favorite death hoaxes is this guy whose name is Patrick McDermott, and he was the on-again, off-again boyfriend of Olivia Newton-John.
Okay, I've heard about this. Now, I remember hearing when he disappeared, and I do remember hearing that he had been found. Is that fake news? Was I fooled by fake news, Kelly, in the 2000s?
Well, do you remember when we talked about how when you write a book, you don't necessarily have to be fact-checked?
Yes, I do remember that. That's why I'm writing a book just willy-nilly.
I mean, just call it fiction.
Right? Oh, it's right. That's exactly what that is. Okay.
So he disappeared off a fishing charter boat back in 2005. He was supposedly located by someone who is an author and a private investigator.
Okay.
How can you go wrong when you're both? And he said he found him, and it was about 3 years later, and the guy said, I just want to be left alone. So he left him alone and got no concrete evidence that he ever actually found this person.
I thought I saw a photo. Was there not a photo?
There might be a photo, but there's no concrete evidence. Oh, okay. There's a photo of someone who looks similar to him.
Got it.
Who's there with a woman.
Okay. That sounds totally legit.
Yeah, I mean, why not? So the guy who went missing, Patrick McDermott, actually has an ex-wife who he has a child with. And she has written Jeff Bezos of Amazon to ask him to stop promoting the guy's book because he wrote a book about this story called Lost at Sea. And she, in her letter, she said that the guy who supposedly found him, Philip Klein, is a well-known serial liar who is simply looking to be famous at the expense of an unfortunate tragedy in our lives. She also went on to say that although he repeatedly promised he would prove McDermott was alive, he never provided anything whatsoever as proof of life. My son has been through enough emotional torment over this, she wrote. He has yet to be able to move on due to Mr. Klein's continual effort to keep him in the public eye. And then, to make matters worse, this had finally died down a little bit. People had forgotten he wasn't getting all this press. And in 2016, more than a decade after his disappearance, investigators claimed that he was found healthy and alive in Mexico, where he lives with his girlfriend. And this claim was made by the weekly magazine Women's Day.
I think that's
no one else
that I has like that. Yeah, that sounds like a couple of years ago. I remember seeing that. Yeah,
yeah. And it hasn't really gotten much farther than that. It was reported, and then it's not really gone any further.
Okay, I just have to say one thing. I totally get why that woman reached out to Amazon to be like, stop promoting the book. But like Jeff Bezos, like he's not in charge of like the book section.
Promotion?
Yeah.
He's not in charge of book promotion?
Like, I just feel like that's kind of going above where you need to go. Maybe she tried a bunch of different people first and they didn't respond. Like, that's probably what happened. It just makes me laugh when I saw, like, I wrote to Jeff Bezos about it. Jeff Bezos is probably like, I seriously got other things to do. Like, I don't handle book promotions. Like, Possibly. He'd be like, I don't even have a login for that system. Like, what do I do here?
So do you have any weird celebrity death hoaxes?
I don't know, but you know what? Some of them throughout the years, like one thing that does stick out is when there's a theory that a celebrity has died and has been replaced.
I love those theories. I get real into those
So
ones.
Avril Lavigne is one of them. And so rumors began circulating in April 2003 that she killed herself after her grandfather's death. And in 2017, Twitter gave new fuel to that fire, igniting a conspiracy theory that Lavigne, known today, is actually a lookalike singer, Melissa Valanda. As the theory goes, the suits at Lavigne's label cooked up a cover-up scheme of her supposed death so they could continue to release her songs.
Yeah, I do kind of remember this one, and my favorite one is Lady Gaga.
Oh yeah.
And if you've ever read anything about the conspiracy around Lady Gaga, like this one is deep and hardcore because she was supposedly murdered.
Oh wow.
By the woman who took her identity, basically, she murdered another person and took her identity, is what she said. Maybe that's right. It's been a while since I looked into this because I almost chose it when we did our conspiracy episode that we did with
gotcha.
with Elizabeth. And it was very, very interesting. And it went on for a very long time. And people are still very, very, very adamant that they believe this theory, which is crazy because in either way, there's a murder at the end of it.
Right.
Which seems nuts.
I will say that the celebrity who probably handled it the funniest is Macaulay Culkin. So when he was targeted by death rumors in November of 2014, he debunked the rumors by taking to Instagram and posting a photo parodying a scene from Weekend at Bernie's.
That's great.
Which I think would be pretty awesome. I'm going to see if I can pull it up here. Here's the picture. Okay, so Macaulay Culkin is not dead, responds to death hoax with parody of 80s movie. See the pic. And then, okay. Oh, yeah. I'll send you this link so you can post it.
Yeah, I'll post it on the blog.
Yeah. So, anyway. So, if you see a celebrity death announcement, what are we supposed to do?
Well, I mean, you can do some more research to make sure it's not a fake article.
That's right.
You can look at your source. I mean, CBS News has made the error, but they also had do not publish in the title.
Right. Because those are going to be one-offs.
Yeah, and there was like a George Soros one where they accidentally published one.
Routers.
There was a Steve Jobs one where they accidentally published one. Yeah, those things, they can happen because obviously they have a lot of things like that. If you're elderly, especially, or sick, they probably already have them ready to go.
Yes, they do. They do have news organizations do continually keep obituaries like ready to go. Like they update them for celebrities on like what they've done and everything. And they do have those ready. So I think that's why sometimes they've gotten posted. But I would say demand proof of death. No, just double check your source. Like just do it. Yeah. Do a Google search, see if it's out there on multiple outlets, maybe even written by different journalists. There are going to be those one-offs like the guy who faked his death and fooled everybody in the international journalism scene and then showed up the next day. But again, those are going to be one-offs. That's not what we're talking about. But double check it and don't share it if it's not true because it's just generating those likes for those like farms.
That's right. And I mean, just think about how you would feel if it was your mom or if it was your sister or if it was your son or daughter and someone was starting a fake rumor about them being dead and it wasn't true. It's very sad.
Yeah, very sad. And it's I say death to the like farms.
I would agree with that.
All right.
Not even fake death. Wholehearted.
All right, Kelly, I think we've talked this subject to death.
Oh, ha, 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 ha. Beth, I think it's your turn. What is your jam of the week?
Well, I had to go with Knocking on Heaven's Door by Bob Dylan because
love that song.
So I will say there was a time a couple years ago where a couple of people in my life had passed away and a couple weeks apart. And both times, so I was driving for work, I was driving down I-5, and both times I was thinking about that person that had just passed, and that song came on the radio. And it just like really made me cry. And like, it's a beautiful song, and like, I really like it. And just in thinking about the topic this week, I was like, oh, I got to do Knocking on Heaven's Door.
Yeah, it's a pretty good song to choose.
Yeah. Okay. So that's my jam of the week. What is your jam of the week?
So I kind of spoiled it earlier, but my jam of the week is a biography that's written, or an autobiography rather, that's written by Gabourey Sidibe. And it's called This Is Just My Face, Try Not to Stare, which is a great title.
That is.
It's just a really great book. It talks about how she grew up and where she came from. Her humor is very sassy and maybe sassy isn't the right word. It's got a lot of confidence behind it. She does truly care about herself. And I love how she puts her image forth in a way that is she tries to be as positive about her life as possible, which it's easy to not be positive about yourself. But I think having that mentality and having that self-assurance and going forward in life is something that I would love to see more women do. So I actually pulled a quote from her book to share. And this will give you a little tiny taste of what her writing is like and what she's like as a writer. She said, "Don't let anyone else take away your joy. If they don't want to be with you or around you, let them go. Pick up your shit and keep going. You came into this world by yourself, and the next person's lungs don't help you breathe."
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So she's just really great. I found her work to be really positive, which is something that we all need every once in a while, is just some positive outlooks on life, even when life is really, really hard.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Nice. Well, hey, if you guys have enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Podcast Fake News. And if you have any comments, concerns, if you have any feedback, if you want to thank us for giving up all of our time, you can email us at podcastfakenews@gmail.com. And then you can also head on over to Patreon and sign up to be a jam of the month and give us $1 a month or whatever,
or more. I mean, we'll take more. Don't think that you can't give us more than $1, because you can't. We'll take all your money that you want to give us. We won't just like take your money and steal it. We'll just take it if you want to give it to us.
Right. And then, you can follow, subscribe on iTunes. That'd be kind of cool. Give us a little review, a nice little 5-star review so other people can find us, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, if you're on Stitcher, we're there. If you're on iHeartRadio, we're there. If you're on Spotify, we're there. We're on all the podcast places.
So I had lunch with my kids today at their school.
How fun.
And they do this thing where you can go in as the parent, you can have lunch with your kid, and then they get to choose a friend to come sit at these tables in the library where you can eat lunch with them.
That sounds amazing.
So I was sitting with my 8-year-old eating lunch with her and her friend, and she's like, my daughter starts telling her friend about how her mom is a podcaster.
Aww.
I was like, aww. She was asking her if her mom listened to podcasts, basically. And then they started laughing about, joking that I was a YouTuber. And I was like, well, the podcast is on YouTube, but you can't listen to it.
Technically, we are a YouTuber.
You can't listen to it there because it has explicit language. And then they were like, what's explicit language? And I'm like, oh, this isn't going well. But I I
it
was
means
like,
it's not for kids.
yeah, I was like, mommy's not really a YouTuber, but I do have a podcast that is on YouTube. And I was like, I just didn't know that the conversation was going to go this way. Anyway.
Well, that's really sweet. I'm glad you got to go have lunch with the kids.
Yeah, it was actually really nice. So, all right, guys. Well, we'll be back in 2 weeks with some more exciting topics about fake news.
All the fake news you can handle.
Well, until then, don't forget, spread jam.
Not lies.